On almost any street corner in America stands a fire hydrant. And here's the strange thing about it. A fire truck from 3 states away can drive up, connect, and fight. That was not always true. And the day it mattered most, it failed. Spectacularly. Sunday morning, February 7th, 1904. Downtown Baltimore is deserted. Offices shut, warehouses locked. At the John Hurston Company building, an automatic alarm trips. By the time engines arrive, smoke is already pushing through the basement grates. Minutes later, the building erupts, throwing burning debris across the rooftops around it. A hard winter wind picks the fire up and starts walking it, building by building, through the heart of the city. Baltimore commits everything it has, every engine, every crew. It isn't close to enough. So the city does something almost unprecedented. It telegraphs its neighbors and asks for their fire departments. And they come. Washington loads engines onto flatbed rail cars within the hour. Philadelphia follows. Then Wilmington, Harrisburg, Annapolis, eventually even New York. 1,200 firefighters converge on one burning city. It is the greatest concentration of firefighting power America has ever assembled. Washington's crews reach a hydrant, drag their hose over, spin the coupling, and stop. It doesn't fit. They try the next hydrant. It doesn't fit either. Baltimore's hydrant threads match Baltimore's hoses, and nobody else's. It wasn't sabotage, and it wasn't stupidity. In 1904, America, there were over 600 different hose couplings in use. Every city had picked its own thread, its own diameter, its own supplier. No one had ever needed them to match. Until the one day, they did. And in Beruvrith, crews improvise heroically, wrapping joints in canvas, holding leaking couplings together by hand, pumping through whatever trickle they can get. Some engines simply stand idle beside a burning city, full of water pressure, with nowhere to send it. The fire burns through Sunday, through the night, into Monday afternoon, 30 hours. Dynamiting buildings to cut fire breaks fails. It finally dies at the water's edge, when the wind turns and there's nothing left ahead of it but the Jones Falls stream. The scale is hard to picture. 140 acres, 1,500 buildings, 86 city blocks, essentially all of downtown Baltimore, gone. 35,000 people have no job to return to on Monday. And yet, almost unbelievably, the fire kills essentially no one. Empty Sunday offices, a fire that moved slower than people could. Baltimore is handed something rare. A catastrophe with all of the lesson and almost none of the grief. Because the lesson was undeniable. 1,200 firefighters had watched a city burn with water in the mains beneath their feet. The problem wasn't courage, equipment, or water. It was a screw thread. Within a year, the National Fire Protection Association did what no one had bothered to do in a century of city fires. It published one national standard for hose couplings and hydrant outlets. Exact diameter, exact threads per inch. Any hose, any hydrant, anywhere. Adoption took decades. Cities had to rethread thousands of hydrants, and a few holdouts still keep adapters on their trucks to this day. But the principle locked in: safety equipment is only as good as its ability to connect. That principle is why mutual aid works now. When wildfires or hurricanes overwhelm a region, hundreds of departments converge, and their gear just fits. The hydrant outside your house is built to serve a truck that may not even exist in your state. Baltimore's fire became the case study for a bigger idea, too. That the systems protecting the public, hoses, alarms, exits, codes, have to work between cities, not just within them. American standardization grew up in that ash. So look at a hydrant today. Those caps hide a thread profile chosen because 1,200 firefighters once stood helpless beside one. It's one of the quietest monuments in America, and there's one on your street. Baltimore rebuilt in 6 years, wider streets and all. The city that burned over a screw thread became the reason no American city can burn that way again. One city's worth of ash bought a rule so small you could hold it in your hand. One disaster later, every hose fits every hydrant. Every safety rule has a story. One disaster later, it protects you.